Okay, some headlines. Last week, CNN's COVID-riddled Chris Cuomo emerged from self-quarantine to rejoin his family. He stated he is not feeling any better, just running really low on makeup. In Hollywood, we're all celebrating the announcement of Perfect, a new biopic of gymnast Carrie Strug. Celebrating the hardest, Armin Mueller-Stahl. One Zimbabwe man is dealing with social distancing from humans by befriending a pack of wild hyenas. Someone might want to tell him that being followed by scavengers is not a good sign. Maybe try befriending a pack of wild doctors. In sports, a trade makes Rob Gronkowski the second greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time. In a surprise move, Nigeria is trying to lure budding basketball star Spencer Dinwiddie away from the Brooklyn Nets. Nigeria's offer is very serious and lucrative. Dinwiddie just needs to forward a relatively small portion of his current $17.8 million salary in order to get the team owner, a beautiful princess, released from a dungeon. Say, if he dies, you think we can finally get Jimmy Hoffa's barber released? For the answer to that and more, here's Rachel.
Hello.
You're up there in the Seattle area.
No, I'm in New Mexico.
You're making masks. What are you making them out of?
I have a bunch of
Are you using muslin or?
quilting fabric.
Ooh. How do you make them? Show me. Do you have any made ones there?
No, I don't have any made ones in here. They haven't turned out very good so far. I don't know. I can't seem to make them properly so far.
Well, what do you do?
So I wanted to make ones that have a filter pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So you cut like a 6-inch by 6-inch piece to make the filter pocket, and then you cut like the mask part, and then you sew it and like turn it inside out, which is actually like right side out after it's sewn. And then you put elastic on it and kind of like sew it all together. It's funny because I bought this sewing machine anticipating, but I never used it and sat in the office collecting dust. So I'm kind of glad that I have an opportunity to making masks.
That's excellent. Okay, so how did you like The Irishman?
I really hated it.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, I didn't like it at all.
Okay, it started at the beginning. What did you hate the most?
Oh my God, where do I even start? Well, I hated the age progression or the age regression.
Okay.
Yes. That was definitely my least favorite thing. I hated that so much. I think that was my biggest thing with the movie is like I have a hard time suspending disbelief with movies as it is, I think. Like
Sure.
I think it's like when people study theology, it like ruins religion for them. I think if you like study film, it kind of like ruins film for you a little bit. And so I kind of already have issue. But I feel like in this movie there's like so many things to distract you from like getting lost in the movie. Like I feel like the age regression thing is terrible. Like they still look 80 years old.
How old do when they're supposed to be 21 in Goodfellas? How old do Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci look?
I'm sure I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't know,
They
but
look like
I'm sure they
1,000.
look really old.
Yeah.
But I mean, this was so ridiculous. I hated Al Pacino playing Jimmy Hoffa. Oh my God, I wish he kind of didn't try to do like a Midwestern accent, because if he just did Scarface Jimmy Hoffa, that would have been better, I think, than if he just was himself as Jimmy Hoffa. I think that would have been better than kind of like going in and out of the Midwest accent. I did not approve of that at all.
Do you think the
So that really bothered me.
Do you think the de-aging would have been less distracting had Robert De Niro not had blue eyes?
Yes. Oh my God, that was another thing I
That was the
forgot
thing that kept
about.
distracting me. I would forget about I kept thinking I might not even notice the de-aging if he just had his regular eyes.
That was so annoying too. Like the fact that I mean, I'm sure the real guy has blue eyes or something, but it's like
Yeah, it's
I
like,
don't know.
why?
Robert De Niro playing an Irishman is already ridiculous. And then just having him have blue eyes and like he's supposed to be an Irishman because he has blue eyes. Oh God, just everything.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
it is
understand.
ridiculous that he's playing the Irishman, and then you've got him playing. He's doing the Italian with Pesci, and you're like, yes, he seems very at home doing the Italian.
It was so
However,
long.
he
It
also
was
played
so
an
long.
Irishman in Goodfellas, in which he looked extremely like the real guy. When they showed, I looked at a picture of James Burke, I guess the guy Jimmy Conway is based on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I feel like in this movie, none of the people really look like any of the real people, so I don't understand the cast. It's not like they looked so much, it's not like Robert De Niro looked so much like the real guy or Al Pacino looked so
No.
much like Jimmy Hoffa, like he looked like Hoffa. Except they're both really short. That's the only thing. I think Jimmy Hoffa was like 5'4", so
Oh
he was
wow.
also
Yeah, he
really
just
tiny.
he does not. You're a big Jimmy Hoffa fan?
When I was, well, I don't know. When I was a little kid, I was really into like mafia stuff. I don't know
Okay,
why, but I
because
was really into the Jimmy Hoffa story when I was a kid.
I almost feel like in doing the movie, they knew that people younger than us, I don't think they know who Jimmy Hoffa is, and that's a thing
Yeah.
in the movie.
His performance, like I said, if he hadn't tried to do the accent, like wouldn't have really bothered me that much. I think it was just the accent that really I didn't appreciate. I think the movie was also just, it was way too long. I mean, that's a Martin Scorsese thing in general, but this one just, the first time that I watched it was like over, whenever it first came out, like Thanksgiving weekend or whatever. So I started watching it the day that it came. And I watched probably like an hour of it, I would say. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do this another time. And then I just got back to it a couple of nights ago, and it was like the same thing where I watched an hour and a half of it and I felt like I had been watching it for like 5 hours, and I paused it to see how much was left, and there was an hour and a half left, and I was like, you're joking. Like, no, I've been watching this for 5 hours. How is there still an hour and a half left?
Wow,
I
I've seen the movie
I could
about five
not.
times.
I can't believe that.
I
I know
love it.
so many people love it. Anna Paquin is in it for no
No
reason
reason.
and is like
Yeah.
presumably playing like, I don't know, is she a teen? She's like 40 years old. How old is she supposed to be? I don't know. Like there's so much going on that I don't understand at all. But I feel like Martin Scorsese is kind of like, I had the flu a while ago. I don't know, like a few months ago. Rewatched a bunch of Martin Scorsese movies. Like I I rewatched Taxi Driver and I wanted to watch Joker,
Uh huh.
and I really hated both rewatching them.
Taxi
I
Driver is a
didn't like
weird
Taxi
movie upon
Driver.
rewatching, like at once in our
It's
modern
like
society.
it's so pretty though. I mean, it's really, really pretty. I mean, it looks really good and it's really pretty. And Robert De Niro is like really hot and so
As a kid, I
bad.
never appreciated how like Robert De Niro was kind of a vain version of like a psycho or something, right? Like with all the like he's like a handsome psycho.
Yeah, he looks the best he obviously ever looked in it. And King of Comedy is really beautiful and Sandra Bernhard is really amazing in it, but like also they're the same movie basically. I
More or
mean,
less. He
but
did the movie again. I just watched. Have you ever seen Night in the City with he and Jessica Lange?
uh-uh.
It's a remake, and
No.
I read three scripts by Richard Price, I guess last month, and the third one was Night in the City. He wrote the remake of it, and I guess he wrote it for Scorsese, but it turned out to be like so much like every other Scorsese movie that Scorsese was like, no thanks. And so ended up like
Yeah.
I believe the producer of Goodfellas, Irwin Winkler, ended up directing it. But it's another movie where Robert De Niro basically plays Rupert Pupkin and just roams
Mm.
around and tries to hustle people.
Well, yeah, I watched them because I was gonna watch Joker, and I hated Joker also. But Joker is like, I don't understand that movie either. Like, why did he just make it's so weird? It's like he was confused, like he wanted to make like a trolling movie, but he also like I feel like he felt guilty and then like made it have some weird social and political meaning, but then it's also just like a tribute to King of Comedy. Like it's really bizarre and I didn't understand it at all. I God, what else did I watch? I watched Mean Streets, which I did not like at all. Like I feel like Mean Streets is the worst out of the three.
Interesting. I might agree. I really like parts of Mean Streets, but I've never really gotten into Mean Streets on the level that some people seem to love Mean Streets. Like some people, I think, kind of feel like that could be. It could have all been downhill from there for Scorsese. There are some
Oh
people
no.
that like the whatever apex.
Well, and I thought that I would. I watched Raging Bull, and I had never seen Raging Bull, and
Oh,
kind of
really?
thought that Raging Bull was gonna be, yeah, and I kind of thought that I wouldn't like Raging Bull. Like I
Oh,
kind of thought that would be my least favorite, and Raging Bull was definitely my favorite. It might be like my favorite out of all of his movies. That was the one that I liked the most. I really didn't like anything else that I watched, but I did really like Raging Bull. Many. There's a few that I haven't seen.
what have you not seen?
I'm not a huge 80s film person. Like the 80s is not my favorite time for movies. I haven't seen Color of Money. I haven't seen we talked about the
You haven't
Silence
seen
movie.
Silence?
I
No, I
wasn't
thought you'd only
I
seen it
was
once or something. Okay, I didn't realize you hadn't seen
no,
it
I
at
didn't.
all.
I was like I'm not gonna go there. No.
Did you? Did you see Last Temptation?
Yeah, I actually really like Last
Yeah,
Temptation.
me too.
I haven't seen what
Did you
else.
see After
I
Hours?
no.
Okay, I don't. I'm the like some people. That's one of the divisive ones. I feel like where some people are huge After Hours people, and some people are like, why did this movie even need to be a movie? And I'm kind of in the latter category where it has its moments, but I'm in the like, I don't understand why I needed to see this.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I'm trying to think.
I like all of those movies you said you didn't like, except for I didn't really like Silence. I need to watch it again, or I don't know if I need to. I'd like to, but I didn't
I
like
don't even know. Is
Silence.
it about what? Is it about like samurais? Like in my
No,
mind,
you
that's what
wish
it's
it.
about.
I wish it was. It's about Portuguese monks in feudal Japan where Christianity is super illegal and you can be put to death, and it's about their faith being tested and the things they witness.
I was just gonna say, in my mind, it's like I was like this Martin Scorsese samurai movie that I'm not going to watch.
See, I was the
But
opposite.
like,
I was like Martin Scorsese samurai movie. Sign me up. And then I read I was like big budget samurai movie. Well, originally it was supposed to have like Benicio del Toro and Daniel Day Lewis in it, and then they replaced them with Adam Driver and Liam Neeson because of allegedly scheduling. Maybe they just got some sense in retrospect. Who
yeah.
knows?
Well, I tend not to like the movies that he does that are like I don't really like Shutter Island and
Nah.
I'm trying to think of like that are kind of like off brand. Like I tend not to really.
Is Silence off brand or on brand? Because it's
I
a big
think that
religious
off
movie.
brand.
Okay, so you could consider maybe Last Temptation also off brand.
But I do like Last Temptation. But I would consider that off brand too.
So
But I
on brand
like
is
it.
psychos and violence, more or less, I would say.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
mob shit and like
yeah.
I don't know, like
Because
bros,
so you'd have Gangs of New York,
just the
Mean
fellas.
Streets. You're right, you're right. That's on brand. So you'd have the off brand one. So Last Temptation would be off brand, but Wolf of Wall Street
And
would be
like
on brand.
and I love Wolf of Wall Street. That might be my favorite. I don't know. I really like Raging Bull, but I could watch Wolf of Wall Street.
That's the thing. Is that
No.
yeah, Raging Bull's a tough one to just watch over and over. In this way that like like I've watched. You may not, but I've watched The Irishman over and over, and I've already seen The Irishman more than I've ever seen Raging Bull, and I love Raging Bull. But I love what is that? I like Wolf of Wall Street and Gangs of New York and all this. Casino. What about
Yeah, I
Casino?
love Casino.
What about
I
Bringing Out
love
the Dead?
Yeah. I've never seen Bring It Out the Dead. That's like the ambulance driver
Mm-hmm.
one, and like Nicolas Cage is in it. No, I don't think I've ever seen
That
that either.
movie was the first time I ever heard Johnny Thunders, and I became a fan immediately. Because they had an awesome Martin Scorsese shit driving all fast with you can't put your arms around a memory in it, and I was like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah, I was thinking about Martin Scorsese. I was talking to like a friend of mine, and we were like trying to think of like another director. I think he, when I really love one of his movies, I like really love them, but when I hate them, I really, really hate them.
That's interesting.
Like, I think they're terrible. And we were trying to think of someone else like that. And we kind of came up with Paul Thomas Anderson, but
Hmm.
I don't really like Paul Thomas Anderson that I think
Yeah,
Boogie
it's like,
Nights is like perfect.
oh,
But I
see, I
don't
get
really
bored
like
with
any.
that movie. It's so long
I
and the
love that
characters are so
movie.
dumb. I just can like, I'm a little
No, I
bored.
love it.
I kind of feel like sometimes his sense of humor isn't mine. Like all the back and forth between John C. Riley and Marky Mark in it, for the most part, I'm kind of like, this is like low grade imitation Goodfellas to me. Like I'm like, this is bad
I
comedy.
oh, I really love it. I like it a lot. I think it's like perfect, but I don't really like any of his other
So
movies.
I
Like I
love
don't
when like
even There Will
Don
Be Blood.
Cheadle's in the donut shop or like stuff like that. Like it's like Boogie Nights definitely has its moments. It's just like on the whole, I'm kind of like, eh.
I love the whole thing. I love disco stuff though.
Sure.
Like the fashion and just the aesthetic and but yeah, I don't really even like There Will Be Blood very much.
Yeah,
I know
it's
that's like
whatever.
a really unpopular, but I don't love it that
He's a
much.
great director though. Every once in a while though, he just nails something. Like, in for example, in Boogie Nights, when that chick gets out of the car of the porn producer, or whatever, you just immediately know how coked out she is, and they haven't even introduced cocaine into the movie or anything. It's like, oh, that's the most coked out lady like I've ever seen. You know what I'm talking about at the pool party when the lady gets out of the car? She's like a
Um,
recurring character in the movie. It was like the coked out chick or something.
I no, I don't remember. I'm trying to think of who that is. I don't know, and I've seen it a million times, but it's just I don't remember who that is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't, she's not famous. It's not Melora Walters who plays the other. Or I guess she's more coked out or something in Magnolia. She's
There's like
distressed.
the guy's cheating wife that's in it. It's not her.
I don't. I think the best Paul Thomas Anderson movie might be the first one, Hard Eight.
I haven't seen that
It's just
movie.
as far as just like being solid. It's not as like ambitious as any of his other movies, but it's a solid story. It's a small scale mob story.
I mean, it's really sad because I like wanted The Master to be so good. Like I really wanted to love that movie. I don't know, like it should be so good, but it kind of sucks, like which makes me sad. Like I want to like it, but I don't.
It's the other thing that's another movie of his where it's like that one part where they do the questions in the boat or whatever. I think is really awesome. And then the rest of the movie is terrible.
Yeah, it just I don't know, like the subject matter is something that I really would think that I would love and stuff, and I think I went into it like expecting to really like it, which makes you hate something more. I
Yes.
don't think I went into the Irish expecting to love it necessarily, but I everyone that I heard talk about it like loves it. I don't know. I don't
So
know how anyone could love it. But
so I have like a couple of friends that keep watching. My father and my brother and my sister love it. Like my father thinks it's way better than Goodfellas or Casino. He doesn't even like those movies, but he's watched The Irishman like, and he loves it. And I think that maybe because there's more, you see more of American history in it. And to be honest, I love the movie, and I'm trying. So I was trying to think of like why I love it and other people don't. One, it's slower. Two, it's a foregone conclusion. We know that he's going to kill Hoffa in the movie. So like it, I think to some extent, maybe some people that don't go into the movie knowing as much about the plot don't know that it's going to narrow down to him having to kill Hoffa. And I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know how they wouldn't know that, but they might not know that, or they might have something like, "Oh, what's going to happen here?" What did you think about the weird things where one thing I didn't see in the movie where it would show you the deaths, how the people died with the thing on the screen? Did you like that?
I kind of like that. I mean, it's okay. It's funny because when I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I actually really do like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I've watched it twice and I kind of
See, I like
had a
that
different
much
experience watching
less.
it. See, I liked it a lot more, but when I saw it, I had gone to the dentist and I was like, I'm gonna, as a treat for going to the dentist, I'm gonna go watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Um, and I found it like really slow and really tedious, like the first time that I saw it, but I love the ending and I think it's so fun and funny and like it I don't know, the tediousness of it kind of it felt worth it. Like the pacing after seeing the ending, like it felt right to me. The payoff of the ending was like good enough to make up for the whole movie being kind of like a hard thing to get through. But then the second time I watched it, I found it like less tedious. But then like the ending wasn't as fun because I knew it was coming and kind of dumb watching it a second time.
There, I did not. Well, I feel the same. I've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood maybe 3 times, and I felt the same every time I saw it. Is that I don't know that it's all that effective of a story for me. I'm largely bored for most of it, but it's such a high budget maximalist film by an artist that there's like it's easy to rewatch, and maybe that's the same thing with The Irishman. It's like I did like it the first time. It's like it's just there's so much in there to just keep watching and be like, oh yeah, what about this? Were you tying that back to
Well,
the weird death things on
I
in
wanted to, yeah, I wanted to say like what I thought was that they're both kind of similar movies in the sense that like I said to a friend of mine after watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Quentin Tarantino's like corniest instincts were like on full display in that movie, which I do think. Like I really like it, but the voiceover and like I kind of was driven a little bit nuts by the constant reminding you of the time period and like the commercials and like that kind of drove me a little bit crazy. I feel like it was like kind of a similar thing with the Irishman where it's just like I don't think it was like corny instincts necessarily, but it was like just bad instincts. Like I think the death thing is like fun and funny, which if it was Quentin Tarantino like, bothered me, but since it was Scorsese, I thought it was fun in a movie that I otherwise like didn't find fun. So it was kind of like a fun breakup. Overall, it's like I think his instincts in that movie were bad. It's like doing the de-aging and stuff was like a bad instinct. It's like it's an interesting thing to do, just kind of like to push the limits and spend all this money and see what you could do with this technology. But like at the end result, it's like useless. Like you might as well just like not have done it. And like
well,
yeah, I don't know. All of his movies, the storytelling is never, that's not really his thing, in my opinion.
So I think
I think
I
like
think he's
the
the opposite. I think he's really good at telling story.
See, I don't like I think all of his movies like if you took a single still from like a lot of his movies, I think they're really really sharp and like it reminds me of if I were to compare him to like a clothing designer or something. I feel like Martin Scorsese's like Chanel or something. Like his movies are like really expensive and like generally like really something, but then like and sometimes he does things that are like fun and cool, but like other times he just makes like boring tweed jockey suits and stuff, and that's kind of how like the Irishman felt to me. It just felt like stale and like expensive, but not. And
I disagreed. I wanted to use the. I think there's stuff in there I hadn't seen before in movies, and it was really fun. And I think that the length of the movie was like a feature and not a bug, right? Like because with those little death things, what they could do with the movie being so long is you see like how that Sally Bugs guy gets killed, and then like 3 hours later, it's actually comes back and kills him in the story. That's really fun. And then earlier,
no, I think that was fun.
and then like
I think that's
and so much time's
fun.
going
Like
by, you're like, are we gonna actually like? It's like how much later that guy actually died, and all of a sudden here he is dead, and then what is the other one? Oh, at one point there's one when they arrest Tony Pro at when he's like eating on that green at that thing, and like there's like that fat guy pauses on this fat guy getting up with a cigar and pauses and says he something well liked by all died of natural causes. And then right towards the end of the movie, Al Pacino's on the phone with De Niro, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been talking to so and so. I can work with that guy. Good guy." And I'm pretty sure it's the guy they said way long time ago is the guy that died of natural causes because everybody liked him. For example, when Whispers tells him like is talking to De Niro in the beginning, and he's like, "I'm a little concerned." He's like, he's like when anybody says they're a little concerned, they're very concerned. He's like, "I got to tell you, I'm pretty concerned." He's like, when they say they're very concerned, they mean they're fucking desperate. Then later on in the movie, you got Pacino or Pesci's like, "Gotta tell our guys are a little concerned. They're very concerned about this about Jimmy, blah 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 blah." And like you're like, ooh.
yeah, I thought there were like I think those sorts of things were like fun. Like there were some fun moments, just like overall. I just like felt like it dragged and I don't know, there was just nothing for me to like. I was
Hmm.
thinking about it and I wanted to compare it to Ernest Hemingway or something. Like I could never really get into Ernest Hemingway because like I feel like it's just too masculine or something. But then I was like, I don't know. In some ways, I think like Raging Bull is like the most like Ernest Hemingway thing that he ever did, and I really like Raging Bull. But I don't know. I don't know if it's too like it's like just like a man's movie or something. Like I couldn't.
What did
I
you think
just
about
I don't
what's her
know.
face from I forgot what's her name, Welker, or the woman from Goodfellas who played the babysitter as Hoffa's wife?
Oh, I think that was cute. I think that was all right. It was all right.
Did you think that guy's
I
Don
think
Rickles
like
impression sucked?
I don't remember his Don Rickles impression.
I was like, this guy's not very good.
I feel like you've seen this movie 5 times, and I like barely saw it once, so I have like a hard time remembering
Oh, here's a
everything.
quick. Do you you're as a mafia? Do you believe anything in that movie?
I don't believe any of that now.
Me neither.
I mean, I don't. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I don't. I don't believe in it. For some reason, when I was a little kid, I was just like so obsessed with them, like never finding Jimmy Hoffa,
Yeah, it
like
was cool.
And I remember kind of like Geraldo and stuff, like going and looking
Yes.
for Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh man,
I remember
you're
all that
taking me
stuff.
back.
I was super into all that stuff as a kid, and I have this across the street who has like these crazy huge ugly like disgusting bushes, and like my parents used to tell me that like Jimmy Hoffa was like buried like under these like disgusting bushes at my neighbor. But yeah, no, I don't think I don't believe him. No.
Well, yeah, it's like anytime they're like they send him on that private plane, it's like all the time. It's like, oh, very convenient that they made it so convenient that you could get away with it, but also so that your story can't be proven at all. It's very easy to
Yeah.
believe you were never there, and this never happened. Then there's
Yeah.
the other part where he refuses the bribe when he gets the job as the local president. You're like, so you're eventually busted for maybe taking this car as a bribe, and you were initially got into this whole thing by stealing from the company, yet when you became union boss, it's like you're like, no thanks, I never take a cent from the union. It's kind of like when Henry Hill's committing all those crimes, like he never did anything violent in all that time except for beating that guy that tried to rape his girlfriend.
I don't believe any of it. I think a lot of what I think it's widely kind of accepted that a lot of history just like sensationalized and like fabricated and stuff. Like who knows? I mean, if any of it's true, like not just that.
But what
It
about,
seems kind of
there's the guy that they convicted people on the murders of, uh, what's that, Joey Gallo or whoever he murders in the middle?
yeah. He
That
says he
comedian?
killed Joey Gallo too, but yeah, I don't believe him. But who knows? Maybe.
Did you like the inclusion of the Watergate stuff and the Kennedy assassination stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I like I like the history of it. I actually kind of wish it was like more like that. I think I would have liked it if there was like more of that kind of stuff maybe. It's just like he uses time really in a really bizarre way where it's just like spending so much time on stuff that isn't really important. I mean, I kind of liked his daughter. I kind of liked his daughter liking Jimmy Hoffa and not liking Joe Pesci, and
Yeah,
I
that
kind
was
of
fun.
liked that kind of. That was cute.
That bird joke Joe Pesci tells is fucking terrible. Right? When he tries to
Yeah,
live up to the
that
daughter.
I liked that stuff. I like that stuff. The bowling scene and stuff. That was probably honestly my favorite part of the movie.
Do you believe that, regardless of whether or not Frank Sheeran and whatever killed Hoffa, do you believe that just his refusal to back down and with the things he was saying, do you believe they're sort of like the causes for his killing or disappearance? Do you believe that?
Do I believe that? Sorry,
Do
you're
you believe? Do
breaking
you?
up a little bit.
Sorry, yeah. So, do you think the mob killed him for basically
Oh,
not for not stepping down or not for continuing to run?
yeah, I do think that. Definitely. I definitely think that that is true.